Shalom, I give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash, like a double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to all you sincere occupants pushing his word across the four corners of the earth. This list is entitled, Let Them Be Scattered Abroad Among the Heathen. And this is referring to the Israelites. Due to our punishment of the Heavenly Father for us going off, breaking his laws, statutes, and commandments, one of the curses he put on us as a people was to be scattered across the four corners of the earth. And that's why you had the transatlantic slave trade. So while we were scattered across the four corners of the earth, we was amongst those other nations, and our people started mingling with the other nations. Therefore, we started looking like the other nations. And that's why you have now, pursuant to Daniel 9-7 and Ezra 9-7, the confusion of faces. So this is 2nd Ezra, the 2nd chapter and the 1st verse. Thus said the Lord, I brought this people out of bondage, and I gave them my commandments, my men servants, the prophets, who they would not hear, but despised my counsels. So what people on this planet earth did the Most High give his commandments to? This is the book of Psalm 147:19. He showed his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. You look up statutes, it means decrees, enactments, or commandments. He have not dealt so with any nation, and as for his judgments, they have not known them, praise ye the Lord. So the nation of Israel was the only people the Heavenly Father gave his laws, statutes, and commandments to abide by. We broke that contract with the Heavenly Father, and that's why we were scattered amongst the heathen. So this is back in 2nd Ezra, the 2nd chapter, and the 2nd verse. The mother that bare them said unto them, Go your way, ye children, for I am a widow and forsaken. I brought you up with gladness, but with sorrow and heaviness have I lost you. And we was discontinued from our heritage because we disobeyed the Heavenly Father's rules. You know, so that's how he lost us. That's why we are deemed as the 12 lost tribes of Israel. We was lost to our identity. We was lost to our power source, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. We was lost to our culture and our heritage. But now, in the last days, our people, mainly the elect, are coming back to who they are now. We're coming back to that identity. We're putting that clothing back on ourselves now. Those spiritual garments, you know, we receiving the word and we have true understanding of it by the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. Every time before he brings a nation down, he brings his prophets out there to forewarn the people what's about to get happen. And one of the signs right now you see, our people are coming back to who they are. So it says, I brought you up with gladness, but with sorrow and heaviness have I lost you. For ye have sinned before your Lord, your power, and done that thing that is evil before him. But what shall I now do unto you? I am a widow and forsaken. Go your way, O my children, and ask mercy of the Lord. Only the 144,000 and 1/3 of the nation of Israel are going to ask mercy of the Lord on this side. And the 2/3 of the nation of Israel who died on this side, they're going to be brought back forth through the ones that made on this side, through the process of reincarnation. Verse 5, As for me, O Father, I call upon thee for a witness over the mother of these children, which will not keep my covenant. And that's a part of it. You know, our people broke that contract. Contract and covenant coincides with one another. Verse 6, that thou bring them to confusion and their mother to a spoil, that there may be no offspring of them. Verse 7, let them be scattered abroad among the heathen, let their names be put out of the earth, for they have despised my covenant. And that's where the transatlantic slave trade came about. Our people was tossed from here to there, all across the four corners of the earth, due to us breaking that contract or that covenant with the Heavenly Father. This is Isaiah, the 22nd chapter and the 17th verse. Behold, the Lord will carry thee away with a mighty captivity and will surely cover thee. He will surely violently turn and toss thee like a ball into a large country. There shalt thou die, and there the chariots of the glory shall be the shame of thy Lord's house. And we was tossed like a ball into a large country and translated slave trade. You know, our people ran from Roman persecution, and we settled in western parts of Africa. And then our people just fled different ways, pretty much. You know, that's why you have Israelites all across the four corners of the earth now, because pursuant to this verse right here in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter and 64th verse, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there shalt thou serve other gods which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. So you're going to see this video right here about the translated slave trade. Just pretty much going into how people just scatter across the four corners of the earth. And now that's why you see confusion in the faces coming to the camps now. Those are Israelites. You got to stop being so cornered and looking at the physical standpoint of it, just, oh, they're like a so-called white person, or they're like a so-called African, they're like a so-called Chinese. You know, the list goes on. But the inner man of that person is an Israelite. And that's the point of it, because we were scattered amongst the heathen, therefore we're going to start looking like the other nations. But at the same time, we still are Israelites at the end of the day. So with that, I hope y'all be edified through this video. Let us give all honor and glory again to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushua, Bashem, Rakakadash, double honors again to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to all you sincere Aki. Shalom.
From about 1525 to 1866, 12.5 million Africans were taken from their homeland and forcibly shipped across the Atlantic, a journey that almost 2 million of them wouldn't survive. By the turn of the 18th century, European merchants were building vessels capable of transporting hundreds of slaves per journey. These ships had extra portholes for ventilation, weapons mounted on deck in case of rebellion, and additional compartments added below deck to take on more human cargo. Before boarding the ships at African port cities, slaves were stripped of their clothing and remaining possessions and had their heads completely shaved. During boarding, which could take weeks or even months, slaves lived on the deck of the ship in a temporary wooden house constructed by the crew. The crew also installed netting around the deck of the ship, designed to catch slaves who might opt for death over forced servitude. Once moved below deck, slaves would find themselves stuffed into compartments with ceilings as low as 4.5 feet, where they would spend most of their voyage. They were segregated by gender and age. Adult men were kept separately and shackled in pairs. Women usually left unbound in their designated compartment, and children often free to move about the ship. There was no plumbing of any kind. Slaves were forced to relieve themselves where they sat, creating hellish conditions when combined with the heat and lack of ventilation below deck. Disease was rampant. Measles, smallpox, influenza, scurvy, and dysentery, the #1 killer, ravaged slaves and crew members alike. The slaves generally spent about 8 hours a day above deck, but were still separated by gender with a barricado, a reinforced wall that could be used to protect crew members in case of a revolt. Slaves were also subject to forced exercise, sometimes including dance and song for the entertainment of the crew.
Psalm 137, verse 3. For there they that carry us away captive require of us a song, and they that wasted us require of us mirth, saying, sing us one of the songs of Zion. How should we sing the Lord's song in a strange land?
Disobedient slaves were tortured and beaten, usually whipped with the especially cruel cat-o'-nine-tails, a tool designed to inflict maximum pain. Slaves who refused to eat their typical meal of rice and beans were forced to do so, sometimes with the speculum oris, a medieval tool used to pry open unwilling mouths. Women, while usually left unshackled, were raped and sexually abused by members of the crew, sometimes arriving in the New World carrying the children of their attackers. But it was the women, using their minuscule freedoms, who would often coordinate mutinies against their captors. But these rebellions were rarely successful. The true extent of the horrors of the Middle Passage came to light in a 1783 court trial over the slave ship Zong. The Zong left Africa in 1781, with 442 enslaved on board. After a 2-month journey riddled with navigation errors, 62 slaves and 7 crew members had perished without reaching their destination. Disease was spreading throughout the ship, and fresh water was running dangerously low. Captain Luke Collingwood was afraid of the financial cost of more deaths. Slaves that died of disease were not covered by the ship's insurance, but slaves who drowned were. Some 133 slaves were thrown overboard. Collingwood claimed it was necessary to do so to halt the spread of disease. At the trial between the Zong's owners and their insurance company, the owners argued that because it was legal to kill sick animals for the health of a ship, it was legal to treat infected slaves the same. The court agreed, but the trial itself exposed the horrors aboard the Zong. The story was republished by British abolitionists with the name of the ship redacted, meant to show that this tragedy could happen on any slave ship across the Middle Passage. 24 years after the Zong trial, the slave trade was outlawed in both Great Britain and the United States. It would take England another 26 years, and the US another 58, plus a civil war, before the practice of slavery was banned outright.